Oke, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Everyday life in the Soviet Union, the Soviet run around. The outdoor Hedrick Smith was head of the New York Times office in Moscow from 1971 to 1974. The following facet is adapted from Mr. Smith's book, The Russian, which was published in 1976 by Quadrangle or the New York Times Book Company. I had heard about consumer shortcuts before going to Moscow, but only when we began to solve did the Russian consumer problems really have meaning for me. Customers were overweight in lines, but Soviet lines have a special quality all their own. Typically, the Soviet woman spends 2 hours a day in line, 7 days a week. Personally, I have known of people who stood in line 90 minutes to buy 4 Finnefels and 3 whole hours horse 3 whole hours to buy 3 large heads of yes cab and minutes to buy 4 Finnefels and 3.5 hours to buy 3 large heads of cabbage, only to find the cabbage were gone as they approached the front of the line. Lines can run from a few yards to nearly a mile. Some friends of ours watched a line of people in Moscow signing up to buy rugs. The line lasted 2 days and nights and ran for across all through an apartment development. In spite of all of this, the natural reaction of a Russian woman when she sees a line forming is to get in it immediately, even before she knows what is being sold. However, Soviet lines are more fluid than they appear. In most stores, for example, shoppers must stand in not 1 but 3 lines for any purchase. The first to select a process and find out its practice. The second to pay a cashier somewhere else in the store and get receipt, and the third to go pick up the process and throw in the receipt. But in a dairy store one morning, I found out that the game is both simpler and more complex than that. I went in to buy some cheese, butter, and blocknut salts, which were in the spread department, each with its own line. Rather quickly, though, I noticed that experienced shoppers were skipping the first step, the cashier for their receipt. After studying price, I did that too. Then I went to the cheese line, the longest, probably 20 people to get the worst over with first. I was in line less than a minute when the woman in front of me asked me to hold her place. She darted off the up to the butter and milk line. The cheese line was moving so slowly that she got her butter and milk and returned before we had advanced 3 feet. I decided to take the risk too, and I got back with my butter while the cheese line was still inching along. Then it suddenly occurred to me that all over the store people were getting into line, holding place, laying or turning. Everyone was using the cheese line as home base. That was why it was barely moving. It kept expanding in the middle. So I got the man behind me to hold my flash, and I went up to buy my bologna, butter, sauce, and cheese. But instead of being furious, I felt as if I had beaten the system. The competing, the competing shopping gives us much of tension of Russian life. People barge into store and bump into each other with face, set in combative oppression. There is hardly even everything to help sufferers. American complain about the constant. So summon is this practice that the Soviet press is always complaining about it, but it doesn't do any good. Crocodile, the Soviet humor magazine, once showed a department store employee promoting some newly. One force is display window. We invite you visit the leather department to buy this force. Thank you.